Get my hair in place. My goodness. It is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Well, let me turn off my space heater. It was cold in here because the weather is changing. So, okay, I'm back. Welcome to the Secure the Bag Book Club. My name is Brooke Brown. I am the leader of the book club. I act as the facilitator as we kind of like talk and discuss and do all the things here on our virtual meetings. So welcome to all those that are present live and all those who are watching after on the later broadcast that will be saved on my channel, What Brooke Spent. Okay. So we are cruising right along. We are in our second book. The book is titled The Art of Buying Art by Alan Bamberger. And this one's it's a beefy read. Not gonna lie. I myself was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna finish in time to discuss? But I did, so we're good. For those that are tuning in live, go ahead and post in the chat a shout out to yourself, just to let everybody know that you're here and you're present. So yeah, let's get into the second section, which is from page, let's see, it's chapter 10, Buying Art Directly from Artists. Starts on page 101 for those who have the book. And this section goes all the way through chapter 15, which is Certificates of Authenticity and Appraisals. And that one ends on page 200. Okay. As a reminder, all the books that we've discussed are on the Spotify playlist that I put together. It's the link is in the description, so go ahead and click that if you're like looking for the audiobook version. If you have a Spotify subscription, or I guess if you don't, you can still listen, maybe. But that is one way to access the book in the meantime while you don't have the physical copy. Although I highly recommend getting the physical copy because it's a good reference material. So there you go. Yay. Caitlin said, I'm glad to hear because it took me dedication to get through the audio. Yes! I'm so glad I wasn't the only one. Oh man, I was like, woof, yeah. We're trying to get through books in, 1 month's time, 4 weeks. And so we have to kind of really press forward in order to do that. But no worries if you don't get through an entire section, you'll still get something out of the discussion and still be able to contribute something important to our understanding of the material. And that's my personal opinion. That's my philosophy. And there you go. Okay, so right at the beginning of the section, the first chapter is chapter 10, and it is Buying Art Directly from Artists. And first, it talked about exploring art in group settings, which I thought that was a truly inspired idea. Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. Let's make this a group activity. It's a group project. Although, depending on your experience with group projects, that may or may not be a good thing. But so it said to check out local arts organizations, area art and artists websites, blogs, or social networking groups. Weekly calendar or entertainment websites, all these group art exhibits, all these wonderful places where you can view art in a group setting. And then it goes on to talk about why that is beneficial to you as a beginner collector. So it said the two things that make this advantageous to you as a beginner is that it provides convenience and anonymity. So for convenience, right? You're in this group setting and you're looking at dozens, hundreds of pieces of art. A lot of it is to your taste, and you can kind of compare and contrast what is available, what is out there, and really expose yourself to a lot of different styles that you may not have considered, and so on and so forth. And then the other thing is that you don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. They're not going to single you out because you're just a face in the crowd. You're just browsing like anybody else is, and no one's kind of like beelining for you, trying to make a sale, trying to convince you to buy art that may not be in your budget or fit your taste or anything like that. So I thought that was really good. And then it said, learning about art and money is far easier when you acquire data from numerous sources all at once than it is when you confine your activities to single galleries or venues showing only one or two artists at a time. See? So you see how we're kind of like we're scaling the operation is what we're doing, right? And we are maximizing our efforts is what we're doing. That's what I would consider that to be is what we're doing. So it talked more about other opportunities such as juried shows and awards competitions and how that was also advantageous because they do the sorting of the good, better, and best for you. So that's also useful. So I really liked how it in that chapter, the buying art directly from artists, it talked about how to go about discerning an artist that is serious about their work and stuff like that in in the exchanges that you have with them, where you talk to them, if you're talking about on social media and online versus in person in a studio perhaps. So that was really good. And then on page 114 it talked about the heading artists you should avoid, and then it has all these bullet points of the attributes, experiences, all that good stuff that you should avoid in dealing with an artist. And so one was you feel pressured to buy something. Another one was the artist talks down to you or makes you feel inferior. Money is a central aspect of everything the artist says and does. So there you go. Those are some there's at least 20 bullets here that you can go through on page 114, but I thought that was really helpful too, because just as much as you hear what you should go after, you should also be, aware of what to avoid. And this book does a really good job of making sure that they tell you, like, all right, be careful out there, So I thought that was really good. This was interesting. I'm flipping the page to page 117, right? And it talked about, there was a piece on 116. Remind me to come back to that. On page 117, it talked about bartering. And I said, what? In my mind, I'm thinking like bartering is like, oh, let me give you, I don't know, a piece of fish in exchange for, some bread or some egg for some milk, like something that's like, oh, this is like a necessity / an essential. And I'm giving it to you because both of us understand that this is valuable and this is necessary for survival. I don't think of bartering as like, oh, let me give you this art that could be worth, $5,000 in exchange for, I don't know, a car. That might be equal. I don't know what you would barter with, and that section left me with questions more than answers. So apparently it's done. It's not in poor taste, but I don't know that I would have the gumption to to walk up to an artist and say, you know what, I don't have any money, but you know what I do have? A really comfy sofa that you could have. And let's like, what do you say? What do you say when that happens? I don't know. Caitlin says, yes, art has a lot of money laundering. Oh yeah, they do launder money. Yeah. On page, wait, let me go back because I did want to make a point. So on page 116, it said, if you really want to own a specific piece, but would like to pay a little less than the asking price, which I think, okay, this is us, right? Right? Observe the following guidelines to assure an optimal outcome. 1, when you like the art, say so. 2, be truthful about your financial situation. 3, if you can't afford to pay all at once, ask whether you can pay over time. Next one, never disparage a work of art to get the price down. Never criticize an artist's pricing policy or compare it in negative terms to how other artists price their art, and don't insult with an offer that's far below the asking price. So see, going backwards, right? If you one on one page it's like don't insult them with a low ball. The exact other page it says, but you can barter. Sure. I'm gonna take his word for it for right now, but I'm gonna have to look into that or ask some of my artist friends, like, would you actually barter? Is that a thing in your world? So and then on the last thing I wanted to bring your attention to in that section was page 118. There's an example, and he in the example he talks about going to an art show, and the average painting is between 5,000 and 20,000, and then he randomly sees this really great and appealing watercolor painting or portrait or whatever it's the image art. And instead of it being 6,000 or 8,000 the way he thought it would be, it was actually priced at 800. And turns out it was the main artist's son that painted it, and he was like an 18-year-old, so he didn't have a lot of pedigree in the sense that he didn't have the education or whatever, but he was self-taught, and he has that tie to the other artists, and so it's valuable in its own right. And that's one way that you can find art that is not necessarily like the main event, but it's certainly still valuable and still a wonderful addition to your collection. So there you go. It happens. We can find things for us beginners. Supporting another beginner. Okay. The next chapter, I won't go into too much detail because it really got in the weeds, but this chapter was chapter 11. It's called Buying from Online Galleries and Websites. I won't bore you with the details because they were pretty specific in this chapter. But if ever you're looking to buy art online and you want to kind of dive into what to expect, and also some options for you as far as working with a seller. There is a lot of good information in there. Just to highlight a couple of things, you can easily verify the credentials of the seller online. You can also look into payment options, and you can also get a full money-back guarantee. So there you go. And there's plenty of other stuff. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Has anybody say so in the chat or in the discussion, or not the discussion, the comments later if you're viewing later. But has anybody ever tried to purchase art online? I mean, even I would assume even Etsy is a place where you could buy decent quality art. Maybe artsy Etsy is not the way to go. They haven't mentioned it in the book yet, and we're 200 pages in, so I don't know. Maybe no to Etsy. I don't know, but I feel like Etsy has marketed itself over the years as being the we're in it for the small dog, the little guy, and stuff like that. But maybe not. Caitlin said at farmers markets. Oh, can you clarify what you mean by at farmers markets? Because I'm not sure which point I was talking about that applied to. Are you saying that you can go to farmers markets and college? Let's see. You said college art fairs and shows. Yes, absolutely. You can find art from students, that are doing fantastic work and progressing along in their careers as well. Chapter 12, I think, was probably my favorite chapter of all the chapters in this section. And so I think I might park here for a little bit. So it started out with the assertion that this chapter is all about don'ts. And yeah, they did. So one of the don'ts was don't buy art under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Okay, I mean, I think we all understand why that would be not a great idea to do anyways. Don't buy art at night, and don't buy art while you're on vacation. And those three alone, the idea is that your senses are impaired, your judgment is impaired. You don't want to later regret your purchase because you were under the influence of, you just happened to be on vacation and really love this thing, but it was the magic of being away that, gave it its allure. And now you bring it back home and you're like, doesn't fit, and you don't want that to happen. There was another point it made. It said, no matter how attractive or reasonably priced the art for sale at these sites, places, or events may sound, confine your buying to respected dealers, galleries, or websites that have been in business for years and are known throughout the art community. Yes. So again, we're going back to that point of like, making sure that we're dealing with someone that is reputable, right? And by reputable, I mean someone who has the reputation to back up the fact and the credentials, right? To back up the fact that they are competent in selling you this art. Um, they also talk about like buying art on cruise ships, and I just have to laugh because I've been on at least 2 cruises, and I laugh because I have been victim to, not, I didn't buy art, but I've certainly bought things that I'm just like, why did he even buy that? Who cares? If it's just a cruise, I shouldn't have bought it. So I can only imagine if someone bought a piece of art that was like, look, seashells, this must be the greatest art ever, and then it's like, oh, it was just because I was out at sea. And then there was another page, or on page 140, it talked about don't buy art because it sounds like a great bargain that's almost too good to be true. Now that is, I mean, we talked last week, right? On the stream, we talked last week about the idea of love at first sight, and I'm so enamored with this piece. I've just got to have it. It's a one of a kind. I'll never have this opportunity again. I can't pass it up. No. That's how you get got. Same here. You don't want to, just think to yourself, oh, it's got to be a bargain. Let me get it before, someone else gets, gets hit to the fact that I'm, practically stealing this off of their hands. No. Likely they're up to something there. So there's a whole paragraph on page 140 that talked about that. And so I highly recommend that you read it, because I think that definitely speaks to us as beginners, that we are more likely to have that scenario. Caitlin says, also, when they were talking about vacations, I bought a picture in a picture frame, and I would never do that again because it winds up being a picture, not painting. Yeah. So in the very beginning of the book, it talked about reproductions, right, and copy prints. And then it talks about it even further in this chapter, and not to rely on like the presentation of it all, right? Don't just rely on it came in a pretty frame. Well, you're buying the art, not the frame. You can find a pretty frame for far cheaper. Don't buy the sculpture just because you saw it on this pedestal with like bomb lighting, and and they were passing around champagne and cheese, and suddenly this is a great buy. No, so you have to really sober up and consider, literally and figuratively sober up, and consider the art that is before you, and does it fit your taste, and have you done your research, have you done your homework, have you talked to more people, have you compared art that's similar in other galleries and online and all those good stuff. And I know that it seems like a lot of work when you just want to go in and see a couple of pretty pictures and pick one and take it home and live happily ever after. But that's not what we're here to do, because we are what? Securing the bag. And when we do that, that means we have to do our due diligence. Okay. More things. I wanted to go to page 146. This is still in the how not to buy art page. So if you'll recall, on page 146, so this is an example of like going to like the art opening, right? And he talks about this artist who like, we're rubbing elbows with like such pretty and rich people, and they're buying the art, and so I should buy the art, and then on it went, and like he like essentially like throws cold water on the whole thing, and it's like, look, here are the facts. The long stems, strawberries, and the wine, and the bruises, and the language, and none of that is the art. Okay, none of that, right? And it cracked me up because it reminds me of a story that happened. So I used to work for a industry publication. It was for the home decor trade publication, right? And in it, they would have these markets twice a year, and it was these huge things. They have these huge showrooms. Everyone, like, if you knew a brand of furniture, they were there. And this one, I'm not going to name the name, but the one person's, or so this one person's exhibit, he was known for being like extra flashy. I mean, he was like, who was the circus people that had the tigers? I can't remember their name, but them. Very like, he was eclectic, very exotic, very like, oh, I'm so like I'm better than all of this, right? And he had this showroom that all of his furniture was like so like, oh, modern, and like just looked expensive and you didn't want to touch it. He also had showrooms where he would like, they would have like waitresses with like, you know, just dolled up, and they'd have all this like champagne ready for you. And then they'd have like ballerinas, literal ballerinas, like big human ballerinas on pedestals, like it just doing whatever ballerinas do. and and then like I feel like at one point there was rumors of like a live animal at some point. Like it was that kind of party. When I tell you, if I would go around the showroom and I just would look and be like, for that, you want that for that price? And so, and I don't, call me frugal or, you know, cheap, or I don't know, but I was like, these people don't know what they're getting into. Why would you buy this? You know, but again, it was like the whole show of it all, that like he knew, the designer knew how to get people talking. And that's what happens in art galleries too, is what I'm getting at. But anyways, that tickled me because I remembered like, oh, I remember going and seeing that, being like, I guess. So I don't know, maybe I have a knack for buying art because, you know, I can discern when they're BSing the real product versus everything else. Please share in the chat. One, if you're following along on with the book, and two, you know, if you have any questions or things that are coming up for you in the reading, I would love to chat more about it. I am going to wrap up this call just because I like to keep them shorter so that you guys can digest them later and not be sitting there like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to get through 45 minutes of talking. But, you know, I feel like 20 minutes is our sweet spot. So let me know in the comments and also in the chat if, you know, the 20-25 minute range is good for you guys, or if you're just like, no, I want more, I want to talk more. So I'm here to serve y'all. So you just let me know. Okay. So awesome. Next week, we are, let me look at the schedule. Next week is November, 19th, and we will be discussing pages 201 to 306. That is chapter 16 through chapter 21. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about. There's going to be some interesting stuff about the actual buying process and valuations and stuff like that. I know we didn't actually get to the part that talked about appraisals and certificates of authenticity, I think is what it's called, COAs, but it's in the book, so make sure that you get through that section as well. And on that note, I will see you guys on the internet. Make sure to tell the others. Take care.